This training video, it's all about the sales journey of a consumer. Why do we call them consumers instead of just referring to people that come to your practice as just patients? Well, it's very simple. If you think of optometry, optometry has three components to it. It has got an educational component, it's got a health component, and of course it has got a retail component. Now, for any optometry practice to experience massive success and exponential growth sales, all three components need to work cohesively and effectively with one another. And so if you think of who your consumer is, we divide your consumer into three components. Firstly, the patient. The patient is that individual who has never had their eyes examined, comes to your optometric practice for the very first time because they've got a visual related problem. So that is that individual that we refer to as the patient or the first time visitor. Then you've got what we call the customer. The customer is that individual who perhaps has received a pair of spectacles, whether it be from your own practice or from a different practice. It might have been once before that they came to you, or they had their eyes examined at a different place a long time ago. However way you want to look at it, it's that person who has purchased a pair of spectacles or contact lenses pertaining to their visual problem. Whereas the client is that individual who keeps coming back to your own optometry practice year after year for all their visual requirements and needs. And so in this video training, we're going to keep mentioning reference to the consumer, and there'll be instances where we are breaking down the difference between the patient, the customer, and the client in terms of the sales journey that the consumer goes through when they come to your optometric practice. And so that process has got different components to it. Firstly, when a person makes an appointment or they come for their appointment at the optometric practice, one of the first things that we need to be doing is providing them with information. What do we mean? What is the process involved in examination needs to be thoroughly explained to the consumer, whether it is the client, the customer, or the patient. It's very, very important that we communicate that which we are about to do. And so you could be an eyewear consultant watching this video right now, and a person is filling in their patient information forms. You're using that opportunity to get information from them whilst you are also providing information to them, especially those customers who have never come to your practice before, or those first-time patients who are on the phone making an inquiry. Your job is to, when someone is asking, for example, how much does it cost to get my eyes tested? Don't just say the amount. Make sure that you are communicating beyond just the amount of the eye examination. Tell them the processes that are involved in the examination, and you are ensuring that you are thoroughly explaining yourself to the respective consumer in a manner that they understand. You're telling them why we're examining their eyes. You're elaborating further on the procedures that are going to be done on them for diagnostic purposes. You're going into detail about the different outcomes that might be expected as a result of the diagnosis that will be found. And then you are sharing with them what the potential way forward will be. A lot of the times, we limit the management solutions that are available because we put ourselves in a box when we are communicating with a respective consumer. So for example, a patient already tells you at the start that I've got a problem when I'm sitting in front of a computer, or I've got a problem when I'm driving at night. That is a perfect opportunity for you at that moment to already indicate to them the best possible management solutions that are available. To say, look, we actually have a lot of patients that keep coming to our practice complaining of the same thing. And as a recommendation to us is that once we examine your eyes, we will get to discover what else is a problem with regards to your vision beyond what you've just communicated with us. And in terms of management solutions, you find that if it is glare and a light sensitivity problem, we will then be in a position to determine how do you actually see as well. And so if glasses are the management solutions that will be best recommended for you, we might have to put a coating on it. And we've got different types of coating. Depending on what the examination results reveal, the coating that you will most probably go with, it's either this option or that option. At that moment, you are not introducing the most basic anti-reflective coating, which I've seen a lot of practices do. You are introducing the premium option based on if this person's results require the premium option, then you've already alluded to the fact that they might need a premium product to solve their problem. However, if you go about saying the most or least expensive product or the least effective problem or solution to their problem, you're going to find it very difficult to upsell them or upgrade them to the necessary product that will solve their problem. But if you're mentioning the ideal product right at the beginning when you are providing them with information, you are giving yourself room that even if they don't need that product, you have already mentioned and alluded to the fact that there are different types of anti-reflective coating, and these are the difference between them. The clinical features and benefits of this one compared to this one is as follows. What you should expect to experience with this product as opposed to this product is as follows. And so if your results prove to require this particular product and you're going to go with that product, this is what you should expect. If you don't go with that particular product, then this is what you should expect. So basically, you're already going to be introducing the ideal management solution in the conversation. If a customer, for example, who has been wearing glasses and they got their glasses from a different practice over the years, now they're coming to your practice for their visual needs. One of the most important and easiest questions that you should actually be asking the customer is, how was your experience with your previous optometrist? The pair of glasses that you have received, what did you get them for? The customer is going to tell you, I got them because I couldn't see in front of a computer. Okay, fantastic. Now because you now know your product, right? You're looking at this pair of spectacles. You can see that this person has got a basic anti-reflective coating on their pair of spectacles. You're using that opportunity to say, with the coating that you have on your glasses, did you find that your visual problem was sorted out when you're sitting in front of a computer? Or were there instances that you found that you could see better than what you currently see? The customer is going to most probably tell you that, you know what, at the beginning it was perfect, but I've noticed that after a while, my vision is not as comfortable and as clear as I would like it to be. Though if I take off my glasses, it's even worse. But with this pair of glasses, I don't find that I'm seeing that which I'm supposed to be seeing. I still feel that there's a bit more. Well, sir, ma'am, fantastic. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there are different types of anti-reflective coatings. And there's the basic option, there's the intermediate option, and there's the premium product. And they serve the following purposes. And this is what makes them unique or different from one another. And so what I'm looking at is your particular product is most probably a basic option that you've gotten. And that's why, based on the examination results that we will get from today, that will give us an indication as to whether or not we need to upgrade you to a better or a more advanced product that is in relation to the visual problem and concerns that you have. That's how you provide information. You're making it very conversational, but you can only provide information when you have asked the necessary questions from the individual so that you can provide them with the necessary information that they will need to be able to make an informed decisions at the end of the examination procedures. Point number 2, this is the examination. So it's very, very important that you set the tone right at the beginning when you're providing them with the information. Step number 2 in the sales journey process is you're looking at examining of the eyes. And this is obviously done by the optometrist. You discover as much as possible about their visual concerns. You reach a diagnosis and make it clear the consumer understands it. You investigate their lifestyle and their leisure activities in more detail. You look into the possible or the different solutions that are available. And you are having a discussion with the consumer throughout the process. Every single procedure that you are doing, you ensuring that you are attaching the accompanying potential solution to that particular diagnostic procedure. If you're not doing it that way, then you are alluding to the fact that you are performing this particular examination procedure so that you can get this particular information. You're telling them why you are doing what you are doing at every single step of the process. What does that do? It builds confidence. It builds trust. It shows the consumer that, I've never experienced this before. It shows the consumer that, wow, I've been having my eyes tested over the years, but I've not seen it being done in as much detail as it is, or being explained to me in as much detail as it is right now. And the consumer is thinking that at that particular point in time. So you make sure that whether you're seeing that patient who is there for the first time, you're doing everything. You're making sure that first impressions last. With the customer, you want to show them that the experience that they're going to get today is going to outweigh and be far better than the experience that they had received elsewhere. Why? You got that information from them in the beginning. Whereas with the client, you're constantly showing them that you are upskilling yourself, taking care of their eyes. You are more concerned about their overall visual health as opposed to you trying to see how many pair of spectacles that you can make sure that they buy. And so you discussed with the consumer the different management solutions that are available. That is very, very important. Next, you are educating them. With regards to the educating process, you are thoroughly explaining yourself to the consumer. This is very, very important that you make sure that the consumer clearly understands what is going on with their vision. You're inspiring trust, you're building confidence or a solid connection with yourself and the consumer. And then you're showcasing your expertise. That's what you're doing when you are examining a person and you are educating them. It's very, very important that you start off with the providing of information, followed by the examining of the patient or the customer or the client, followed by the education part. Every step is important because the first step leads to the second step, leads to the next step. Once you have educated the consumer, for example, it brings us to our fourth step, which is where we are asking them questions. And what do we mean by this? You have to establish a two-way interaction between yourself and the consumer. Break through any barriers that might exist between how you're communicating with them. So communication barriers might need to be broken down. You could be an Afrikaans-speaking individual and your patient could be, or your customer could be a Zulu-speaking individual. Have you established a connection with the consumer right at the start, such that when you're asking them questions, you are going to be coming back to their level? It's very, very important that every step that you are taking or that you are performing, you are at the level at which the consumer can understand you, whilst at the same time taking them to a level of experience that they have never had before. Very, very important. You are addressing, with part of asking them questions, you want to make sure that all concerns that they have will be addressed. You are providing them reassurances and you are building confidence. So confidence is going to be throughout the process because it's very, very important. Because someone that has confidence in you, it makes it easy for them to trust you. When they trust you, it's more likely that they will go with what you recommend versus if you have not built trust, if you have not built confidence. Why would that particular individual go with what you're recommending? Even if what you're recommending is the best possible solution for them. If you have not established trust, then you're going to lose out on an opportunity in the sales process to convert that particular individual from just becoming a patient to becoming a customer to eventually becoming a client. Next, it's our first step in the process. This is now where we are convincing the consumer on the following: what their problem is or what their problems are, what causes them, what do we do about them, what are the features, benefits, and values of the management solutions that are recommended, what is the value for money is. So this is where now the money component or the money talk comes into effect. The prognosis of their problem, the product and the brand value. So this whole process now, you've asked the questions to that particular consumer. They clearly understand what's going on with their eyes. So, sir, as a recommendation to you, we're recommending this pair of spectacles with the necessary coatings. This is what it will be solving. This is how you're going to be experiencing your visual environment, whether you're at home, doing leisure activities, or at work. With the reason why we've recommended two pairs of spectacles is that the one does the following, the other one does the following. Are you clear on that? Well, here's the thing. If we go with what we're recommending for you, this is what you should experience. If you don't go with what we're recommending, this is what you should be experiencing. Now, so you're just having those upfront, open discussions, but throughout you convincing the consumer on what they need, what their problems are, and all of that, you have to talk value. Very, very important that you're speaking value, because value, that's what consumers are always thinking about that. They're not going to make you aware of it, but they're looking at what will I be gaining if I go with what you're recommending versus what will I be losing if I don't go without it. And so your job is just to communicate the value add, that what you have done is as a result of this, or what you are doing, this is what they're going to be experiencing. So no matter what you're talking about, never move away from the value component. Never move away from just talking about the clinical features and products of a product. You need to be communicating the clinical features and products in relation to how this person is going to experience the visual environment with that pair of spectacles. And give examples, give testimonies of other people that have gone through the same process. So it's very, very important that you have an understanding of who your consumer is, what generation group they belong to, what are they a high income earner, middle income earner, or low income earner. Your conversation is going to be greatly influenced by consumer purchasing decisions that they make as well, depending on the buying generation, the expectations or the requirements that they have as consumers when they come to your practice, and what type of market segment they belong to. So when you're communicating with that individual, it's very, very important that you have an awareness of the individual that you are communicating with, not just you seeing them as the patient, the customer, or the client. And next, you first convince them. Once you've convinced them and you can still see that, this person is not fully convinced yet, then you move on to the sixth step, which is where you are persuading them. What are you persuading them on? You're persuading them on what actions to take, what decisions to make. You're getting the buy-in, which is very, very important, because once the consumer gives you the buy-in, they're more likely to go with that which you are recommending. You're giving them guarantees regarding the product and the solutions that you have recommended or offered. The impact that the management solution will have on their life, that's very, very key. What will they be gaining if they go with what you're recommending versus what they will be losing? So that's basically what you're persuading them on. Next, you need to deliver on that which you have communicated to them about. What do you deliver on? You have to make sure that any resolutions that you've taken between the management solutions, that the product that you're recommending delivers on that which you have communicated. So whatever that you promise the consumer, make sure that you deliver on that. No manipulations, just provide value. And if you can't do that, there's something wrong with regards how the practice is approaching the sales process of a consumer. Never compromise on integrity, and always make sure that the consumer knows that you are willing to go the extra mile in ensuring that they get that which they need. And the after-sales service is just as important as the pre-sale service. Very, very key. A lot of the times, someone comes in, spends 2,000 rands or 20,000 rands on a pair of spectacles or multiple pair of spectacles, and the practice then doesn't follow up in terms of whether it's 2 weeks later, a month later, 3 months later. They don't follow up with that particular individual in terms of the experience now that before they came for their eye examination, this is how they were seeing. Now they've got given this pair of spectacles that you said will do the following. You need to ensure that you are going to follow up with them. You communicate with them when you're going to follow up with them. And on that day that you said you're going to follow up with them, make sure that you follow up with that particular individual, because it even brings us to our next step about the following up. You have to know the different schedules of the different consumers in terms of when do you follow up. With a patient who wears a pair of spectacles for the very first time versus a customer who has been upgraded from a previous pair of spectacles to a new pair of spectacles with a different tint, different coating. For someone now who's wearing contact lenses for the first time versus they've been wearing glasses and they're not wearing glasses as often because they've got a pair of contact lenses. For that person now who has always been having that one pair of spectacles, now you've provided them with multiple pairs of spectacles or prescription. You need to know what are the different follow-up schedules that are pertaining to that particular individual. And you have to have clear aftercare sales services in place so that when you do following up after 3 months, you've got specific questions that you are asking that individual. And even the method in which you are going to be using to following up with that particular individual is very, very important. So right at the beginning, when someone comes in and completes the information form, you have to ask them, how do they prefer you communicating with them? A lot of times, practices are asking that question, but they don't go and make sure that they're indicating it clearly on the computer system that they're using or the patient file that this individual prefers to be communicated in this manner. Because here's the thing, if you communicate with the particular individual in the manner in which they asked you or preferred you to communicate with them, you're going to win that person over. But if you do the complete opposite of what they required from you, you're creating problems for yourself in terms of the communication between your practice and the particular individual. And so it's very, very important that as you're following up, you do that, because it gives you a lot of information, and it also does something to the consumer. It says that you are not just concerned with getting them a pair of spectacles, whether that individual spent 2,000 rands or 20,000 rands. You want to make sure that they leave your practice post the sale knowing and being fully confident that this particular practice cares about my well-being. They are following up on that which they said I'm going to experience. And the consumer is going to tell you, yes, I'm experiencing this, or no, I'm finding it to be a challenge with regards to that. Whatever the discussion is going to be about, follow up. Especially now in 2020, 2021, whereby a lot of change has taken place due to global pandemics. People have gone digital. There's so much information that is out there. So the time a consumer comes to your practice, they are already having some form of expectation and requirements. So your job as a practice is to make sure that every component that is available for you to communicate with the consumer, you are effectively utilizing it to the best of your ability, to the best of the practice's opportunity that exists. Because right now, consumers know a lot. Consumers demand more from practices. And so what's going to set your optometric practice apart from all other practices is these small little things that you were supposed to have already been doing, but over the years were not doing. So go back to the basics. That's basically what the sales journey process is all about. It's go back to the basics. Think of yourself as a consumer. How you go to a restaurant, how you buy a car, how you go to different things. What makes you go with that which they're recommending you? Sometimes it's got little to do with the actual product that you wanted, but more to do with the experience surrounding the product that you want. The consumers that come to your optometric practice, they go through the same thing. The experience that they get through the sales process is more important than the product that they actually need. If you understand that as an optometric practice, you're going to find yourself closing more deals as compared to before. And that is very, very important for you to understand. Now, here's a thing as you close off this training video. The challenge, or the South African opportunity or challenge, whichever way that you want to look at it, has got different components to it that can ensure that if you look at the opportunity side, you can win with every single consumer that comes to your practice requiring visual related solutions. For example, with the race challenge or opportunity, right? This is still part of the sales process, but if you look at race, South Africa is a diverse country. We've got multiple languages here. And here's a quick tip. If you are an optometric practice that is based in a predominantly Afrikaans community, and the next type of majority community within where the practice is operating is Tswana, for example, or there are more Zulu speaking people in your community that you are operating in compared to Tswana speaking people, or there's more Xhosa speaking people more as compared to Sotho speaking people, or whatever the case may be, whether you're an English operated practice or Afrikaans operated practice or a Sotho operated practice, the key here is, as a team, you need to ensure that you're learning the language that is the majority being spoken in your community outside of the language that you are comfortable or that you speak. Very, very important that if you, for example, are an Afrikaans speaking individual and Meneer Swanepoel comes into the practice, speak Afrikaans, connect with Meneer Swanepoel in Afrikaans. If you are Thandi and a lot of people that are working in your practice are speaking Zulu, but the practice is operating in an area where it's Tswana speaking people, go learn Tswana. Make sure that whatever majority of the language that is spoken in that particular community, whether it be English, Afrikaans, Zulu, you learn two of those languages. The one that you are comfortable with and the one that the majority is speaking with. It's going to make communication much easier. When communication is easy, it makes the connection easy, better, more efficient. And any communication that takes place pertaining to sales becomes more effective simply because of you are communicating with this particular individual at the level at which they are most comfortable. They get to connect with you because you are different from them, but you are stepping out of your way to connect with them. Don't be that individual who says, but why should I speak their language? Why can't they speak my language? Who is trying to get the sale? That's a question. Who is trying to get the sale? I used to do it a lot when I was in practice. If I was in an Afrikaans community, I would learn certain basic Afrikaans sentences, phrases, words, so that that staunch Afrikaans individual that comes into the practice, I can connect with them. If I go to a Zulu-speaking community, and I speak Tswana. I speak Setswana. So when I go to a Zulu or Xhosa-speaking community, I'm going to learn key phrases that I utilize or I use on a day-to-day basis in the optometric practice, and I'm going to make sure that I can translate them, or I can get them translated in the language that is majority spoken by the people in that community, because I'm going to be communicating the very same thing every single day. So if I'm going to, in an area that is Zulu-speaking people, I don't know Zulu, but a lot of people here are experiencing dry eye. I'm going to make sure that I can explain everything related to dry eye in Zulu. Simple as that. So I encourage you to do the same thing. Step out of your comfort zone, because you want to take every opportunity that is available to close the deal, to get the sale. So if language could be a barrier that can be removed, why not remove it? It's going to be much more effective and easy for your practice to close deals, to get more sales when you are removing the language barrier that exists, by ensuring that you're effectively communicating in a manner that the community that you're operating in communicates. I'm not saying be fluent, but you need to certainly make the effort that that person can notice that you are making the effort, and communicate with them that, start the Zulu conversation, start the Sotho conversation. And once they communicate back to you in that particular language, and you're going to have an opportunity to tell them that you're still learning, and leave it at that. A question that you might have is, Obi, what if I communicate Zulu, but this person is Xhosa or Sotho? Let me give you a quick tip. If you are an Afrikaans person and you speak any vernacular language, no black person is actually going to get offended by you speaking Zulu to them when you are a Caucasian and you speak in Zulu but they are Tswana. They're going to appreciate the effort that you're making, and they're going to continue speaking with you in that manner, because it is unusual for them to experience that which you are going to be providing to them. So don't overthink it. The key about it is you want to make effort. If you are an Indian speaking person, same thing applies with you. If you are a colored speaking individual, same thing applies with you. If you are Sotho, Zulu, whatever race that you belong to, make sure that you step out of your comfort zone, because you are in a retail clinical environment. So you want to make sure that you are communicating with this individual that's in front of you in a manner that you can close the deal. And if language is what's lying between the two of you, why make it difficult? Learn the language, especially if it's something that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So the impact of someone different from you speaking in the language of their choice is immense, and it breaks the ice between the patient or the customer, the client, and yourself. Very, very important. And then the easiest thing to do it, just to where do you get started? Names. Sometimes a person would have a very difficult name, and then they write in their name, and then you asking them what do they prefer to be called, right? Then they will give you the nickname. If you are different from that individual, one of the key things that you need to quickly learn is engaging people or starting conversations with people who are different from you about their names. Ask them, what does their name mean? Where does their name come from? How do they pronounce? Are you pronouncing their name correctly? Make sure that you're pronouncing that name correctly and write it down, because it's not going to happen with every patient, right? Or that customer. So write it down. Have a notebook. I carry a notebook with me when I was in practice, because I made short little notes about key moments throughout my day that stood out. And I would write that. Next time that individual comes to the practice, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to call them by their name. And that person is going to connect with me. He's going to remember that, wow, this person made the effort of understanding my name. I would even go and research more information about their name that they were not even aware of, and say, hey, post our conversation, I was intrigued by your name, and I actually went and found out more information, and this is what I came about. It starts a conversation. It builds the communication, the connection. It establishes the trust. It gets the confidence going. That's what you want. The next challenge or opportunity is price and affordability. Look, everyone is feeling the pain, right? And every consumer is going to be saying that every time they come to your optometric practice, especially now that we are all navigating a new way of doing things as a society. So always remember that people are constantly going to be looking at what will they be gaining if they go with what you're recommending versus what will they be losing if they don't. So our responsibility as employees is to communicate the value of the product that it will have on the person's visual environment. So as a team, it's very, very important that you come together regularly to discuss exactly that. To say, guys, what is the value add from these products? What is it that people are going to be experiencing when they're purchasing these products? When they're going onto our online platforms, what is the value add that we are providing them as a practice? So it's very, very important that the practice that you're working in, or the business that you're running, you are clear on what the value add is from your optometric practice, and that everyone in the team is fully aware and fully confident in explaining, communicating about that value add. Next is the service delivery, challenge or opportunity. Excellence should be the order of the day. Nothing else, nothing less, nothing more. Great service delivery in an environment leads to increased sales profits in that particular environment. The one forms the foundational basis of the other one. And so you can have the most beautiful practice, great team on board, amazing systems and products, but if your processes don't result in increased service delivery for your business, sales will continue to decrease. And so service delivery in a business is what yields the sales in that business. When service is functioning at an optimum, sales will be at a maximum. And so ask yourself the question in terms of where are you at as a practice when it comes to service delivery? Are you still doing what you were doing 10 years ago, even though your community has changed? The environment which you are working when you're operating in has changed, but you have remained complacent or the same. So it's very important that you understand the opportunity that service delivery has on the sales process within your optometry practice. And so the other thing, bias. Don't have a bias. Avoid having a particular bias towards a patient or a customer or a client based on their religious beliefs, gender preferences, or ethnicity. Make sure that as a practice, how you communicate on social media, through your marketing initiatives or activities, the people that are coming into your practice. Are you a practice that easily connects with different people, irrespective of their backgrounds, irrespective of who they are? If you've got a connection problem, you're going to have a sales problem. So it's very, very important that you have a good, strong connection approach when it comes to the different consumers that come to your practice, and that you don't have a bias of any kind, of any sort, towards any individual. And so make everyone that walks into your practice feel comfortable. Are you creating a memorable experience for the different individuals? So as a team, once in a while, or monthly, you need to be constantly looking at, wait a minute guys, this past month, we saw these types of people, these type of people, these type of people, these type of people, these type of people. How are we effectively ensuring that if we don't usually see Muslim people in our practice a lot, but in this particular month we saw a Muslim person, did we connect with an individual who is a Muslim in as best way as we possibly can as a practice? And then you have to make sure that you understand the different consumers. That's basically what we're trying to say. Understand the different consumers and make sure that you've got an approach that is standard for those different types of individuals, so that you are winning them, you are making them feel comfortable, you are creating an environment that they want to be in, and most importantly, you are creating an environment that they want to be willing and ready to spend their hard-earned money in buying the products and in rendering the services, or getting the services that you are rendering with ease. And that's basically the sales journey process that exists between or for a consumer, in terms of whether they are a patient, a customer, or a client. So it's very, very important that you go through these steps as a team. Look at, are you guys providing those processes or those steps accordingly, or are there areas that you are missing an opportunity out on based on the fact that you are not effectively applying that particular step?